So the answer is there are other options, but we will have to look at start fundraising again if we decided to go forward. So that hopefully that answers that question.
Okay. And the other one about green lighted, if it happens, would there be Steve achievements in the game?
Yeah. So we're going to be offering certainly full support on Steam. And also, we'll be doing I know some people are really want a DRM-free version as well, so we'll be providing other ways in which you can get the game. I love Steam. I buy almost 100% of my PC games on Steam. So from that perspective, I think Steam is a really good vehicle. I actually consider it a platform too and a console. So yeah, I'm really excited to hear about the Steam console and stuff when that comes out, and we'll be looking at that really carefully. We're gonna support Steam very strongly.
Nice. I actually had a question I meant to ask earlier when you were talking about episodic, the episodes for Shadow of the Eternals. Nintendo, I don't think they've ever had any episodic content before. Am I correct in thinking that? And also, if so, how was their response to it being episodic?
So I don't know if they've had anything episodic before, but this is certainly perfect for their online distribution system that they're rolling out. So it makes perfect sense, and you can never know what someone's thinking, but they seem to think it was a smart business model, and that it would make sense for Shadow of the Eternals.
All right, very nice. Glad to hear that. Because I know when Nintendo's kind of new now to the online portion of gaming, but it seems they've gotten a pretty good grasp on it from what they've been doing with the Wii U and the 3DS downloads lately. And that's what had me curious about that in the first place, because I'd never actually seen them have episodic games before.
This will fit. Yeah, there'll be no problem of Shadow of the Eternals fitting into their platform and their distribution process. One thing I would say, this is my opinion, I think in some way we're all new to the online process still. So, and what I mean by that is we're moving more and more towards these distributed cloud servers. Our site is actually on an Amazon cloud server now, and that's just, and we're a startup company. We're a new company, and it scales infinitely in hardware. I make video games. I got to tell you, some of this stuff is way out of my league. I just look at some of this stuff and go, I'm not sure. But so the whole idea of online distribution, I think for a lot of people, no one really understands where the right directions are. And when we started thinking about these things for Precursor, there's all these cool things coming out, like the Oculus Rift, the new consoles coming out, and everyone's like, these are really great technologies, and I think they're really going to enhance some gameplay. And if there's a question like, will you support Oculus Rift? And it's like, if it makes sense, we use the Scruskull, yes we will. I think it's a really cool piece of hardware. But from a standpoint of online and where it's going, we took a different approach. We took a wetware approach. So we said, everyone's creating all these new cool pieces of hardware for the online revolution. What we thought we'd do is do like a social revolution and include the community. And so we're using the advantage of, let's create a community-driven content model. And hopefully, people will respond to that in a positive way. People on the forums seem to really like it. I don't know, Aaron, if you have any thoughts on that, but I think it's been going well.
I think it's really the wave of the future, to be honest. I mean, it's a lot of people like I'm not sure, I don't remember who mentioned it, but they were really kind of bummed out with the way the interactions between the developers and the consumers was. And while in previous decades, I'm going to say, because games have been around for a while now, the interaction was minimal, and in some cases none. The fact that we have social media now and all these interactions and all these online features like Twitch, like we're doing right now, and all sorts of stuff that people are using these days, it's really kind of key that we start including them, because with all of these resources available, people have gotten much more in tune with what they want to play. Like, for example, I'm just going to use the MMO market. The MMO market is kind of tough right now because innovation versus, I guess you say, we'll call it just clone. The balance.
Oversaturation?
Yeah, it's hard to balance like innovation with clone, because people want certain things out of MMOs, but at the same time they don't want it to look like every other MMO.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot of these billion. Well, I don't know how many they're.
You have your people that are like, I want it to be like WoW, but I don't want it to be like WoW. They want to have the enjoyment that they had with it originally, but they want something different.
Exactly, and the problem in the MMO industry is people are making these games and they're doing it, but it's not coming off. They're not coming off as well received, because the problem that people have to do, the problem that people have, is that they're competing against World of Warcraft, which, although it wasn't the first MMO, and it wasn't the first one to use the way that it uses the market, it's leveraged a lot of stuff in the MMO market better than anyone, and they also have massive amounts of content, because obviously they have had billions of dollars to invest in that game. And I say billions, I don't really know how much it is, because I never worked for them, or I've never seen the numbers, but I know it's been a lot.
Yes.
They have a lot of money.
And so these people are putting out these MMOs that have some unique characteristics, but they're still kind of theme parky. They're still kind of WoW-esque. But the problem is if you go too far away from the WoW-esque model, people don't get it. But if you stay too close,
they feel disconnected because it's not something they're used to.
Yeah, or if you go too close, then it's just another clone. And so MMOs are freaking expensive to make. So it's kind of tough, a tough market.
Well, I'll give you a perspective, at least I'll try to, from how I think the industry's changed on several levels. So one of the things Aaron's talked about, it really is a change across the whole industry, and it's what I've been saying. The industry is upside down right now, where it costs for these AAA products. These games are selling 4 or 5 million copies, and they're below expectation, and they're losing money. Right. That's a really tough market to be in, and it gets to the point where something's got to change in the industry to allow what I would call an optimization. I kind of look at it like the movie industry was a long time ago, where everyone, when they're making movies like Cleopatra or Ben-Hur, they had thousands and thousands of actors, all full-time employees of the studio, and that model worked for a while, but then the cost started to overcome the production value. People wanted more production value, but they had to figure out ways to get that production value without incorporating all those costs. And if you sort of look at what's happening with the industry, there's a big change coming. It's just, I think it's really, really challenging, like working on a game for 4 or 5 years. There's all these problems. And the other thing, just let's talk about this for an example. When I used to do press, 95% of my press, I'd have a few phone calls now and again, but 95% of my press, or any press that I would do, would be flying down to San Francisco, where most of the press outlets were and where all the magazines were, and I'd do all of the interviews within a week and a half, and they'd all be scheduled out by PR people, and it would be this marathon. And whether E3 would be the same way, like 3 days of non-stop interviews. We try to get as much coverage as possible. And I'll tell you something, after doing that for a long time, you become like a robot, and you don't have a chance to interact. And it makes these kind of things so much more special, because I have a chance to think about questions you guys are asking me and give you solid answers and interact, whereas at a place like E3, where someone's going to write up 4 paragraphs about what they thought about the game in a preview, it's just not as good. So I think this is a win-win all around.
You heard it here. Dennis is a robot.
Well, everything that you're saying now kind of mirrors my sentiment exactly towards what I hinted at earlier, my view on the games dev, and then when I start philosophizing about it and thinking about it, because what I think is that, you know, what you said before about the production costs and the production values having a non-linear relationship almost, where the costs are starting to overcome what people are expecting of the game. And I think that part of the reason is what I always say is that the companies are growing out of their britches, basically. They're getting so big, you're getting development teams of 200-300 people on it, 400 people even on it, and you're putting so much money into a product that you have to start looking at it as, indeed, you know, you have to get your return on investment, etc. So you start looking at, you put way more money into marketing, you start thinking about your marketing dynamic and your whole approach to it and the image that you want to give. And what I always think when I watch what you were talking about just now, like you going down to LA and talking to press and just being able to give a quick little blurb about something, I always feel like watching devs talk in those kind of situations, I don't really pay too much attention to it, simply because even a really good dev will, to some extent, feel the pressure on their shoulders. And what about if it's some junior guy who's worried about his job, you know, worried about the stakeholders looking over his shoulder, basically. You know what I mean? It just creates a really unhealthy environment when constantly there's a pressure where people have to filter what they say, think about how to pack it into a nice little neat PR package, rather than... The funny thing is it seems to me self-defeating, because the whole idea of PR, you know, when you start being overly clinical in it, it becomes something that's so detached from real communication that it just defeats the whole purpose, at least in my view, you know.
I totally agree, and I think that Aaron, that's one of the things we talked about that we're not going to do with our community, and make sure that we're trying all these new things. We don't pretend to say we know where this is going. We actually are excited about it, but it's brand new country, quite frankly, doing all the stuff we're doing. And I remember, I don't. This is a thing you guys may not know. I don't think I said it. I'm the one that set up the forums. I actually admit, like, we have other people helping us now, but I set those up. I put the software in, and I got to tell you, I'm a totally noob forum administrator, and I put just a ton of add-ons on that I thought would help increase bandwidth and communication for people, and so far so good. But there's more stuff that we're working on, and we're doing a major update tomorrow morning, actually.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, Suika, the Grows is telling you the last turn is inside the blue urn.
Oh, that's
said,
right. I
"Don't
gotta
go
break
back."
it. I forgot.
Oh man, don't go back.
Sorry, I was not thinking.
Hey,
Thank you. I
Probably
totally forgot.
saved you a few minutes there.
Yeah, you did, but I went all the way back, so it didn't really save me that many minutes.
Oh well.
Sorry, whoever it was that was saying that.
That was the Grows.
That was gross.
Sorry, gross.
Forum, man.
I think there's still some left, SFK.
No, I'm taking any questions anyone has to ask. I had quite a few I'd come
saw
with. Do you have
Homer.
anything,
Manfob's
Tracy?
still here. Yeah, Manfob has a question. He was wondering if you guys were gonna release another gameplay video about combat mechanics.
Yeah, we're gonna do something on combat mechanics, but you have to remember the game is in early pre-production,
Right.
so we're gonna a lot of these Kickstarter things. They have concept sketches, and so we're, I believe, far along, but the game is nowhere near finished. So, and we're going to open a lot of this stuff up to the community as well. But yeah, we are going to do some stuff about that. We are going to do another playthrough that's going to talk about the art and the technical aspects as well as the audio. That's kind of the plan right now. So you'll be seeing more videos. We're starting to find that people respond better to videos than written blogs, and so we're going to have some written stuff, but at the same time we're going to be trying to do as many videos as possible.
Yeah, people tend to respond better when they can actually see it and see the process, and you know, actually understand what you're saying, not just reading something. It's right there in front of them. It's just not words on a page, and that sort of thing tends to help a lot more.
The more videos, the better.
Yep. Well, we've been trying to. I think we've been averaging 2 or 3 updates on Kickstarter a day. So we're trying, and We're going to do some more. I think we're going to do one over the weekend, and then we're going to just roll. I think there's going to be a bit of a vacuum with the Xbox announcement. I'm not sure if we're going to do something Tuesday, but we might do something. We might do a few things. We'll see.